Come on in, guys. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's greatest also-rans, First Boots. Survivor has seen First Boots run the gamut from jaw-droppers to, well, yeah, duh. So today I want to talk about the 10 survivors that I would consider the best of the worst. Now, a little housekeeping on this list. In the spirit of fairness, I won't be including returning players from All-Star seasons in this list because that's just no fun. These are all players who were voted out first the first time they played. I'll be ranking based on how entertaining and strategic they were in their brief time on the show, as well as the legacy they've left behind. That said, let's dig into the top 10 First Boots in Survivor history. Our 10th best first boot is Marisa Callahan from Survivor Samoa. Marisa is on this list because she was the first person to sniff out the duplicity of Russell Hantz and his first victim. We're introduced to Marisa when Russell casts his vote for her to be leader of their tribe, and she in turn also votes for him. But Foa went ahead and picked Mick as the leader of their tribe for some reason. Anyway, Russell tried to recruit Marisa to be his ally, but she was rightly skeptical of him and saw how duplicitous he was almost immediately. So she deserves major props for seeing through Russell so early. This also got her eliminated, as Russell got tunnel vision when he realized she wasn't on side and railroaded his tribe into taking her out. I think Marisa is wildly underrated as a player because on literally any other tribe in history, she would have thrived. Legitimately, I think Marisa has winner potential in this game. Unfortunately for her, she was on a tribe with Russell Hantz. Our 9th best first boot is bowling alley owner Peter Harkey from Survivor Marquesas. Okay, this dude is wild. There's just something so off about him, you know? I mean, look at this 1,000-yard gaze. Peter's weirdness isn't from one particular habit he has, it's just the whole Peter package. He talks about breathing from the diaphragm, he lingers weirdly at the periphery of conversations. He instructs Sarah and Patricia how to master their holes.
And it's simply to master every hole of your body.
Whoa, calm down, buddy, or we're gonna have to talk to HR. Peter is the kind of Survivor player who is just too aloof to ever really get far in the game, especially back then. He might have a little more success in the age of Nora and Debbie, but America simply wasn't ready for total hole mastery in 2002. But that weirdness is exactly why I love him, and that's why he's number 9. The 8th best first boot ever is Steve Morris from Survivor China. Alright, first of all, this guy played Survivor in an era where seemingly every season had a handful of players who went by some sort of corny nickname. So he went by Chicken on the show. See also Cowboy, Dreams, Boo, Rocky, and Frosty. Anyway, Chicken is great because as the oldest person there, he naturally took a leadership role on his tribe, but he was told his leadership wasn't being that well received. So instead of dialing back a little and continuing to contribute, Chicken just blows up the whole thing and aggressively refused to give an opinion on anything, which just made him absolutely impossible to work with socially or strategically. Since he literally refused to talk about anything, Chicken became an easy consensus first boot for Jean Hu, and on his way out, he gave the greatest vote reaction in Survivor history. Oh, so now you've got an opinion? The 7th best first boot in Survivor history is So Kim from Worlds Apart. I really like So because she embraced the theme of her season so well. Worlds Apart was divided by occupation, and So was on the white-collar tribe. She embodies the corporate take-no-prisoners attitude that casting was clearly going for. She is a completely unapologetic villain and leans into the theme of her season super hard, with confessionals talking about how she's made people cry at work. She could have been a Natalie Bolton for a new age, but her and Joaquin, another super underrated villain, ended up on the bottom of the tribe and she was voted out first. So is one of my biggest Survivor what-ifs, because I think if she survives this one tribal council, she makes a pretty decent run in the game and gives us a fun post-merge villain for Worlds Apart, which is a lot better than, what we got. The 6th best first boot in Survivor history is Wendy Jo DeSmit Kohlhoff of Survivor Nicaragua. Now, look, Wendy Jo is honestly the single weirdest person ever cast on Survivor, and that is saying something.
I don't know if I'm naive. My brother calls me sheltered.
And Wendy Jo's story on Survivor is kinda tragic. She struggled to make connections, and the only person who really gave her the time of day was Holly. She even mentions that her husband predicted she'd be the first person voted out. Wendy Jo was completely done in by her social skills. She just has this habit of talking endlessly about stuff no one really cares about, and she looks completely lost all of the time. But her extreme awkwardness is also why she's so wildly entertaining. It quickly became clear to everyone on Espada, including Wendy Jo, that she was the first to go, so she made one last awkward stand at Tribal Council.
People like to be my friend. People like to be with me. They trust me all the time. Trust is important. And I don't have any blisters on my feet, and that's what I said.
Well, you tried. At number 5, we have Deb Eaton from Survivor the Australian Outback. Deb is here because, like Wendy Jo and Peter, she is someone who simply could not hide their weirdness in the game. She simply failed to connect with the rest of Kucha. At all. In any way. As the survivors are hiking into their camp from a remote location in the Outback, Deb aggressively takes control of their tribe. And then she gets all weird when Kimmy talks about, well...
My main concern was, where the hell am I going to masturbate out here?
Okay, Deb, you're a CO in a prison. Don't act like you haven't heard worse. And then, displeased with Michael Scoopin's shelter-making abilities, which, fair, Deb makes the all-time dumbest suggestion for how to build their tribe shelter.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
Oh, good idea, Deb. I've always wanted to die by being crushed by boulders next to Mike Scoopin and Jeff Varner. Deb's weirdness became a liability for her tribe, and she was taken out first. But that weirdness, again, why she's up here. The 4th best first boot in Survivor history is Zane Knight in Survivor Philippines. Zane's game began and ended on the doomed Mat Singh tribe, a tribe that would give us the first 4 boots of the season. So in this sense, he is kind of a trailblazer. Zane fancies himself a great Survivor player, and he's actually kind of right. Zane hit the beach running, making side deals with literally everyone on Mat Singh. Usually that blows up in players' faces, but Zane has insane social capital and is likable enough that no one even cares. Literally no one wants Zane out. Everyone is Team Zane. Except Zane. After botching the immunity challenge, Zane falls on the sword for Mat Singh, offering himself up as the first boot. But he actually didn't want anyone to vote him out. This was just a bizarre scheme to gain sympathy and to sniff out who likes him and who doesn't. It's a plan so insane it just might work. Except it didn't. Zane's crazy strategy and insane likability is enough to get him top 4. Our 3rd best first boot in Survivor history is Francesca Hoagie from Survivor Redemption Island, who also came back in Survivor Caramoan and was voted out first again. Francesca is the first and so far only person to be voted out of Survivor first twice. Now, results-oriented thinking would dictate that Franny is the worst player in Survivor history, but I actually think she's an average player who just got really unlucky in their starting tribe. She began her game on Boston Rob's Ometepe tribe, and she and Christina seem to be the only people who understood the massive threat that Rob posed. So props are due already. But the highlight of Franny's time on the island is easily her rivalry with Philip Shepard, who went from her ally to leading the charge against her in 3 measly days. Her and Philip are great foils to each other, and watching the extremely logical and level-headed Francesca get increasingly frustrated as she tries to argue or reason with Philip Shepard was hilarious.
And guess what? I was going to vote for Francesca because that meant Francesca. My mouth is dry and I've been getting treatment for it. So
Franny, that's why you're top 3. Coming in at number 2 is Survivor's original first boot, Sonia Christopher. First of all, Sonia should be proud. Her single episode of television launched a dynasty that has lasted 20 years. It launched 1 million imitators, and if this episode, if Sonia wasn't so compelling, we might not be here right now. But why is Sonia number 2? Well, she sums up everything Survivor wasn't meant to be. Sonia is an incredibly likable woman. She brought a ukulele as her luxury item to entertain her fellow castaways. As a cancer survivor, Sonia is the only actual, real-life survivor on the cast. She is everyone's lovable grandmother. But Sonia was sacrificed to the Survivor gods on Survivor's first episode simply because she tripped in the immunity challenge and Toggy had no one else to vote out. Sonia's kindness is exactly why it was meant to be that she go first. By booting her, Toggy set the tone of the rest of the game and unknowingly 20 more years of Survivor. But Sonia's legacy is really only half the story. She just seems like a really great human being. And those two factors together make her the second best first boot ever. Was there any question who would be number one? The greatest first boot in Survivor history is Reem Daly from Survivor Edge of Extinction. Due to the nature of Edge of Extinction lasting the whole season, Reem was on our screen every single episode, getting more screen time than half the cast. Seriously, Reem got more screen time and story than her, or him, or even him. Oh, forgot you guys were the final three somehow. Reem was initially voted out for mothering her tribe too much and touching their stuff, but on the edge, she transformed from motherly figure to a woman driven by an almost preternatural desire for revenge. Seriously, she endured 32 days on the edge of extinction just to watch the people who voted her out come to the edge one by one. And I haven't even mentioned her vocabulary, which seems to be about on par with most 14-year-old boys' vocabularies, with liberally peppered bros and dudes throughout. Talking to Reem is like taking a time capsule to Xbox Live in 2005.
You don't even know this old lady, bro. This old lady can kill it.
All of that comes together to create the most well-drawn and interesting character to ever be voted out of Survivor First, created by equal parts her full season presence and her hilarious personality. So yeah, Reem, best first boot in Survivor history. Got nothing else for you. To keep me off the edge of extinction, like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.